Ambassador Burns, we're pretty used to dealing with hyperbole on this committee with the kinds of things that we hear. And I want to talk to you for a minute about your statement that Russia is the most dangerous adversary that we have. With all due respect, if you sat on this committee, I'm not sure you'd reach that conclusion. I think there's a lot of us with what we hear about what's going on in North Korea and some of our other adversaries, that Russia certainly is a dangerous adversary. But when you have someone running a country like Kim Jong-un and with what we know about what he's probably going to do if his administration is threatened, I got to tell you that you might be slightly off mark when you say that Russia's the most dangerous adversary that we face. But don't take that as a criticism that I think that Russia is not a dangerous adversary. I would just caution that it falls in a group of countries. Then there's others that are more dangerous. You were critical of, or are critical of, President Trump and what he's thinking right now. And you would agree with me that the Russians have taken no active measures in an election while Donald Trump has been president. Is that a fair statement?
Senator, thank you. May I just say, in response to your first comment, if you would allow this?
Please.
I agree with everything you said about North Korea. But Russia can do greater damage to us from a nuclear weapons perspective, and certainly in trying to draw a new dividing line in Europe. So it's a respectful disagreement.
I appreciate that. And let me ask you this. Do you think it's more likely that that would come, assuming that North Korea had nuclear weapons that they could deliver, is it more likely that it would come from Russia or from North Korea?
Well, I think the threat from Russia is multifaceted. It's not just from nuclear weapons. It's also about dividing Europe.
No question about that.
So I think they're both a problem, a big problem for the United States. I just made the statement. I was echoing General Dunford when he was confirmed.
Back to my last question. You would agree with me that the Russians have taken no active measures in an American election while Donald Trump has been president. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I think it might. I actually don't know. I don't know what happened.
Have we had any elections since he's been president?
Yes, we've had congressional elections.
And you think that the Russians have taken some active measures in those elections?
I don't know the answer to that question.
We do know that the Russians took active measures in the last presidential election.
Well, I think the intelligence communities of the United States are confirmed on that.
I think we're all in agreement with that. Who was president of the United States when that occurred?
That was President Obama, as you know.
And you know he was aware that this was going on.
Yeah.
Indeed, he's admitted that he talked to Mr. Putin about that. Is that correct?
So you heard my testimony about President Obama. I have great respect for President Obama. This was a difficult decision. I think that President Obama, with the benefit of hindsight, should have acted more resolutely, quickly, to be transparent with the American people. But he did take action. And what disturbs me about President Trump is that he's not investigating, has taken no action. Got that.
But I'm talking about somebody that could have done something about this while it was going on. You're aware that President Obama talked to Mr. Putin about that, are you not, in the summer of 2016?
That's what the news reports say. I also know that the Obama administration briefed the 8 senior members of Congress early on, that there were public statements made by Jay Johnson, I think on October 7th. So they did take action. It's not as if the Obama administration just was silent on this issue.
And indeed, when President Obama told Mr. Putin that we knew that they were taking active measures, that was indeed classified information, was it not?
Well, you know, I think if you're the President of the United States and you're trying to deliver a stiff diplomatic mission, you're well within your rights to tell Putin what you think he may be doing.
Couldn't agree with you.
In fact, that's the object of the conversation.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
And that's actually the purpose of classified information. It's no good if you collect it and don't use it. Fair statement.
Well, not always. Sometimes you don't want that information ever to see the light of day.
What else should President Obama have done?
You know, and this is Monday morning quarterbacking by me.
I understand that.
And I appreciate the fact that he finally did take action on the sanctions. I think if you go back and look at it, the American people, in my judgment, deserve to know what was happening clearly. You have to ring the village bell. And we should have had a more immediate response that was painful to the Russians, whether that was immediate sanctions or some type of offensive action that we could have taken by covert means against them. And so I think there were a variety of options. I wasn't there, so I don't want to micromanage this, but I do think that he could have done more. But my testimony clearly shows that President Trump has taken no action whatsoever, and I think that's irresponsible.
Got that. But the description you gave, you would agree with me that the Obama administration did not take the significant action that was needed, including informing the American people, which would have gone a long ways to countering what the Russians did. Fair statement?
Well, I think that the Obama administration should have taken greater action, but the more pertinent question today is what our current president is not doing, and that has implications for Europe, and they're very negative.
To you, it's the more pertinent. To me, what more pertinent is what should have been done by the commander-in-chief who was in charge at that time. My time's up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Feinstein.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Many have said this is actually the crime of the century. If you think about it, it is. If you think about the fact that it's conducted by intelligence agencies, we know Russian intelligence to be relentless and ruthless. And it all happened. And it contributed toward the defeat of an American presidential candidate who happened to be the first woman running for that office. Well, that's not true, but in a very serious and electable way, it is. They targeted 21 states.
Looks like they had a little trouble.
They went into 21 states. I've been sitting here, Nick, listening to you, listening to your colleagues. I have great respect for you. My own view is that if, in fact, this is the crime of the century, if, in fact, it's going to lead to other crimes being committed in the future, that we together have a responsibility to hit back. The question comes, are sanctions really the effective way to do it? Or do we do it in the cyber world? But I don't think that we can sit here and see the amount of destruction that has been done, the defeat of a candidate, the intrusion into 21 state systems, the continuation, even now, with spear phishing, what's happening in Europe, and, you know, the Iron Bear is on a march. How do you stop that? And we have had certain abilities discussed of how to develop a hit back. And it's hard for me to believe that sanctions make them angry, but sanctions don't really do anything. There is a downside to a cyber war. On the other hand, the United States of America cannot see the critical infrastructure of an American democratic election destroyed by Russia. I'd be very interested if anyone would be prepared to talk about what Europe and America could do together to plan, to prepare, and to hit back.
Senator, I'd just say briefly, our sanctions have to be aligned. They'll be much stronger if we actually work together with the Europeans to align what they do in sanctions with us, number one. Number two, it's my impression we can do much more in the way of intelligence, but also an active work together to respond verbally to the propaganda. But number three, I think you're right, and I so testified that we have to think of other means. And we have capacity that if we wanted to use it, we could. And that has to be aligned with Europe.
Bear in mind, these aren't fringe people. These are the at least two of the three intelligence services of Russia. That's a big deal. The president of Russia committed his intelligence services to hit our election system. Do we just, well, maybe we shut off this sanction or that sanction. Maybe we think it's going to just go away. They've shown no signs of going away. I've been on this committee for a long time. I have never seen a time when, with full confidence, every single one of America's intelligence agencies have come together and say they have full confidence that this was orchestrated by Putin and he used his intelligence services to do it.